So without further ado, I will get into the main content of the day, because we've got some interesting stuff to talk about today from the point of view that, you know, we are in the heart of the festival season in the UK at the moment, and there are music festivals happening up and down the country pretty much every weekend at the moment. Now, of course, whenever you get something even remotely cool to capture, which looks cool from the air, you're always going to have a drone pilot or three who would like to capture some cool footage. I'm the same. I completely understand the desire. You see these things on TV, you drive past these sort of things, and you think, I really like to capture that on drone. So today we're going to talk about the rules surrounding those kind of flights, as well as actually explaining how you can gain permission to fly your drone within temporary restriction areas. Now, as well as lots of questions from viewers of Geeksvana, there have actually been a few posts recently from drone flyers who have been approached by police and or security fairly close to festivals and events when flying their drones. So I thought it was worth making this video to have a chat about how this could impact your own flights. Again, let me know in the chat if you've got any questions, tag at Geeksvana there. And if you're watching this on the replay, then let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments below. And I will, of course, try to answer them as much as I can. One recent case has actually been shared online by a hobby flyer to a Facebook group. Now, let's take a look at this particular case and pull up some screenshots here. I want to look at this first from the point of view that I'm not going to be actually talking about the case itself, but it's interesting from the point of view that it's one of the first publicized times a fine and confiscation of a drone has taken place under the new UK police drone powers. So here's the post, which, before we start, it's important. I'd like to thank the drone pilot for sharing this experience, as it helps others and promotes healthy discussion on the topic. And I think it really does help everybody to know what's going on, frankly. The post reads, wanted to share my experience flying my Mini 2 over the weekend. I took off from my garden to take some photos of a local festival nearby. I kept VLOS and didn't fly far from my location. I didn't fly over the park, which was holding the festival. Within about 5 minutes, I had 6 police officers in my garden who had been tasked to find me. They'd been having problems over the weekend. Sorry, my notes just went a little bit squiffy there. They've been having problems over the weekend with drones, where they've been flying over the crowds and photos backstage, etc. I had picked up on their system and I had been picked up on their system and located. They wanted to check what I was doing and if there was anything dangerous strapped to the drone. The poster then continues to talk about what he felt was conflicting information coming back and forth from the police officer for the incident. There was a back and forth with the officers checking with a drone expert, as he puts in inverted commas, regarding the situation. Now, we've been unable to verify the other side of the conversation. The case itself isn't what I'm bringing to the audience attention today. Obviously, I have no way to verify exactly what happened here, but if the officers did indeed misquote the regulations and why they were taking action, then that, of course, is a bit of an issue there. Now, the post continues on this second slide here to report that the police confiscated the drone and issued him with a fixed penalty notice for £250. This is possible under the new police powers granted recently, of course. So essentially, if the police believe there is a crime that needs to be investigated, they can actually confiscate your drone with nothing much more than that, frankly. They're also able to offer on-the-spot fines. This doesn't mean they're going to simply start taking everyone's drones, in my opinion. There have been a number of other incidents close to festivals recently where drone pilots report nothing more than a warning was issued, and therefore they left. So I have no idea what prompted the action here, which again is why I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the case too much, as there simply isn't enough information beyond what was in an actual Facebook post. Femi Fanatic, thank you so much for your $1 super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Later comments by the same poster shows he does do some research and he has discussions with the CAA. So, you know, I'm not ragging on this guy. I'm not talking down to this guy or anything else like that. As you can see from his notes, he was trying to fly legally and that type of thing, but through further investigation, he was able to unearth that there was actually a temporary flight restriction in place for drone pilots, and the poster believes he may have actually been just within that zone. Here, in fact, is actually a screenshot of the email sent out via the CAA Skywise system to inform of the restrictions. Now, recently I've actually received several of these alerts as well for festivals, including the Isle of Wight, Cream Classics up in Liverpool, and others. I would recommend that everyone signs up to the CAA Skywise alerts. There's a link in the description, or there will be after the show, and you can sign up to the drone specific alerts, and they will come straight to your inbox. The information will also be displayed on the Altitude Angel Drone Assist app and their browser version, dronesafetymap.com. It's important to know that the zones actually appear on the app and the site highlighted in blue rather than the red of the permanent FRZs. So that blue can also be the same as somebody just notifying you of a hobby flight, frankly. So you need to check all the circles that are on the air maps. The poster informed me that the festival in question was actually the Wireless Festival, which obviously, as I was saying, it was covered by an airspace restriction, which was sent out via an email. As I was saying, here is the screenshot for that. Although in his post he claims the Drone Assist app did not show the restriction when he went to check it. So it's difficult, really. Again, as I say, I don't want to speak specifically about this particular case in itself. You know, any kind of whether the fine should have happened and that type of thing. I'd be interested as well if anybody else out there has had the same issue as far as what they're being told doesn't add up to the drone assist data or whatever flight map you're using. I'd be very interested to know that. Now, there's nothing, of course, stopping you from flying these zones before and after. And in actual fact, I have a little video here to play in the background, which is actually from one of our viewers, Tony McGinn, who's actually in the chat, Fly Sky Drones UK. And Tony actually gains footage before and after the recent Reading festivals. And in fact, he captured the Reading festival aftermath with all of the rubbish and everything else like that. In fact, the pictures from these flights have actually earned Tony a bit of extra cash and have appeared in several national publications and on mainstream TV, etc. as well. So that obviously tells you what's happening in terms of what happened in that situation and perhaps where you can find it. Sign up to the CAA Skywise service for drones in particular. I'm signed up to a few of them just because I like to get things through, but it can be a little bit confusing. You'll get all the NOTAMs and the rats and everything else come through from that point of view, and the US geographical zones, but also it is worth making sure, even if you're taking off from your garden, you feel like you know the location that you're in, you feel like you know everything very, very well, it's still worth checking Drone Assist. It's still worth checking dronesafetymap.com to see if there's anything that's been updated, just in case. Tone B, thank you. £5 super chat, loving your content from an Essex drone flyer. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. So the next question really in my mind, is there any way you can fly in these zones? Well, yes is the simple answer, with permission, which can actually not be unreasonably withheld. Now, regular viewers of Geeksvana will remember a video we put out a few months ago talking about the CAA CAP 722C, which gives guidance about setting up so-called UAS geographical zones. These are essentially zones where the sponsor or curator of the zone believes there is a reason that drone flights should be controlled. This, of course, includes festivals for a number of reasons. You have to satisfy the criteria set out by the CAA. So you can't just say, I want a no-fly zone above my house or above my business or something. There has to be actual reasons for it, such as obviously a festival is going to be crowds of people, public safety, etc. Now, there's a link in the description to the previous video on this. If it's not there yet, I will put it after the show. And if that's of interest to you, then please do go and watch it for the fuller details of that. Instead, today, I wanted to focus on one particular section. I'll just bring this up here and zip through to the correct section here. Bear with me. Hi, Flyby guys. Stephen in the chat, one of my co-hosts of our regular Thursday show. I hope you're well, sir. There we go. I did have that ready, but it's decided to spool itself back to a different position, which is fun. So this is section 3.1 of CAP 722C, which says the sponsor of any geographical UAS geographical zone. Now, a UAS geographical zone is essentially a no-fly zone for drones. So have UAS geographical zone. That should be one of those topics, that one of those acronyms, etc., that you should start putting into your mind and being familiar with. the sponsor of a UAS geographical zone is essentially the person who has put that into place and who controls it. Okay, so they should enable fair and equitable use of the space. Any legitimate request to access a UAS geographical zone by an airspace user whose presence will not negatively impact aviation safety should be accommodated in a timely manner. So that's interesting. It is up to an individual sponsors how they go out processing a permission, request to operate within a UAS geographical zone. This could be as simple as a telephone call or could require the use of a specified online platform. And again, I'm going to go through one of these in a moment to show you them actually how they look online. The sponsor must specify how an operator should go about requesting permission to access a UAS geographical zone and then make this. They then post some questions which should be part of the assessment process, which is this little sort of graph here, when considering providing access to the airspace. Now, the entity responsible for issuing a permission to operate within the UAS geographical zone must properly consider every request for access on its own merit. Sponsors must be clear when issuing a permission to enter the airspace, essentially providing information on the scope. So if you ask for permission to enter the zone to take pictures of a nearby area or complete a roof inspection, etc., they have to be clear with you about the scope of your permission. So, they will say, okay, you can fly up to 400 feet in the area that you're describing, and, please let us know if any deviation is going to happen from that point. Now, the next section is important. And it is very important in actual fact, which is here. It states that policies employed by sponsors to disproportionately limit access to a zone, such as the ones listed below, are not appropriate in any circumstances. And as you can see, these include blanket bans on UAS activity without justification, charging a fee for access to the airspace, refusal to engage with requests, and lengthy delays in responding. Now, there is a link to this form in the description below, because there is actually a little link here. As you can see, the highlighted and underlined word literally here, which will actually take you to a page where you can lodge a complaint if you have an issue with the UAS geographic location. So if you need to fly in a zone with one of these temporary restrictions, you can gain permission to fly. Keep in mind, you're not going to get permission to fly over the event or anything like that, of course, but certainly if you intend on flying close to an event within one of the temporary zones, you could well gain permission. It's obviously vital that you gain this permission before you fly, as permission cannot be permission cannot be granted retroactively. So you need to go to, if you find yourself that you want to fly in an area and there is one of these UAS geographical zones, and it won't just be for music festivals and events, they could be there for a number of reasons. They're the blue circles and the blue squares, etc. Have a look, click on there, see if there are sponsor details, and if you need to fly within that zone for other reasons, you're doing a roof inspection or you're just capturing a pretty church that just happens to be in that zone, you can contact the sponsor, and as long as your flight is safe, etc., they cannot unreasonably withhold access to that airspace, and indeed they have to respond quickly. They can't just delay things so that it goes past when you want to fly and that type of thing. So it's interesting. So let's take a look at one of these actual zones. I'm going to pull up the drone safety map here from Altitude Angel. I'll just pop that to there. There we go. Now, I'm going to, this is obviously zoomed in on London at the moment, obvious reasons. So I'm going to have a look here. And as I was previously mentioning, there's been notifications sent out from the ECA regarding some upcoming festivals. So I'll find one of those sites. I'm going to go to Liverpool, which is actually where the Cream Classics Festival is being held this weekend, as I lose my mouse point there. Flatlands Aerial Photography, welcome to the Vana Army. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Okay. So zooming in here into the Liverpool area, as we can see here. And here we have it. Here we have the blue circles. Now, for this particular festival, as I click onto them, you can see there's ones for laser display, fireworks display, which obviously are NOTAMs from a safety point of view. But the one we want is this little blue circle in the center here, which comes up here on the fourth block down. You can see it there, restricted airspace, applicable only to drones. So again, these are specific UAS ones. Kamikaze Chaos. Are you in garden shed? No, I'm in my studio. Why? Does it sound like I'm in a garden shed tonight? I am using one slightly different filter actually on my audio. So if it does sound different, I'd be interested in some feedback on that. So as you can see, the restrictions are in blue, so keep that in mind. So this color can actually mean a simple drone flight as well, of course. So ensure that you do check, as I say before, every circle and box. Looking at this one, you can see a few notifications for laser show, fireworks, etc. The usual info here, when you click onto here for the NOTAM, is on the side here. You'll notice under the full NOTAM section, there is indeed details. If we come down here, you can see them here. Of actually how to contact the sponsor. In this case, it's actually an 0330 telephone number, so that you can get there. So again, it says, except for those operations with permission of the festival airspace coordinator on telephone number, and there's the telephone number. So you can actually call that telephone number and you can request permission to fly within that zone, the specific one for the festival, and they cannot unreasonably withhold it unless they have, of course, good reasons, such as the festival is ongoing and you can't come too close and that type of thing. It gives details such as obviously the airspace it covers, so lower is surface up to 1,300 feet. And it also has a schedule from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And this is an interesting one, actually, which information I found out today. If you are talking to a sponsor, it is worth chatting to them, especially when they do put a schedule on here, from the point of view that if you're looking to fly outside of those times, they really will not have much of a problem with you doing it, frankly. So, you know, it is something which I think could open up a few more flights in these areas. And again, it's a right that we have to do it. So I think it's something that we need to know in terms of the hobby. So in terms of the response the drone pilot in London got to his flight near the Wireless Festival, and one of the reasons why I highly recommend subscribing to the CA Skywire system is the fact that often when there's such temporary zones set in place surrounding a festival or an event, it will be accompanied by counter drone technology, which can accurately determine your position. So if you don't follow the restriction or gain permission before the flight, you could end up with a visit. As he said, within 5 minutes, he had 6 police officers in his garden. So generally when one of these zones is actually being in place, they will have the counter drone technology to back that up, so that they can see where someone is flying from. There's a host of reasons why they don't want drones flying over festivals, including criminality, including safety, including all sorts of reasons, which I'm not here to debate the good and bad of those personally. So I realize tonight is a little bit information heavy, so feel free to go back and watch this again, obviously, and pick up on points as you need it. If you do have any specific questions about anything raised, let me know in the comments. You can always email me, Sean@geeksvana.com, and I'll answer them in future videos and live streams as well. We have a video actually coming up on Geeksvana looking at when you can fly over people in the UK specifically with your drone, which obviously kind of dovetails into this kind of subject matter quite nicely as well. So if you're new here and want more drone and tech content like this, then please do subscribe. And